I think everybody's been on this bandwagon of like strength and heavy lifting and all of that stuff so hard that people are missing health stuff and the functional performance stuff associated with cardio.
I don't want my athletes to ever look at them, which is why I still have people wear whoops, because then I can look at it week over week, trend over trend. And most people are like, I tell people, don't worry about the app. Don't look at it.
What's the one trend you hope goes away? The thing that I want to see die a little bit, strength train or die phase of that's the only way to go out and work out and cardio is the devil, all of that stuff. It's interesting to me. Like, so 5 years ago, my workouts were probably always like rooted in cardio because I didn't really understand what rest was, right? And
to give you guys a conceptual, like a real thing, I remember we first were working with Steve and, eating a little bit less than what he probably should have been. And so I was like, all right, we're going to give you some more rest time. We're going to give you some heavy loading, get you strong in this phase. And we had him rest for like 60 seconds. And I was doing that because it was supposed to be more of a cardiovascular. And I remember thinking about this after the conversation. He was like, man, I'm just like, I got to set my timer for 60 seconds. I get 15 seconds in and I'm like, I'm ready to go again. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. And he's like, I got so much rest for 60 seconds. And I'm like, bro, I can't even catch my breath in 60 seconds. Like, what are you talking about? And now he's like, like the 3 to 5 minutes. Now I'm like, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Now I don't know how to not rest for like 3 minutes. I'm like, man, I gotta go back to doing that. That's my like that's where jiu-jitsu has been this thing of like, I got 45 seconds of rest at most and it's time to go again. And I'm like, man, when you go a real 100%, you definitely need more than 45 seconds.
Oh yeah.
So,
oh yeah,
but
really funny.
But I think everybody's been on this bandwagon of like strength and heavy lifting and, all of that stuff so hard that people are missing the, call it health stuff and the functional performance stuff associated with cardio. And I'm not saying go sit on the elliptical 5 days a week for an hour each time. That's not what I'm suggesting. But I will tell you, 8 months of doing jiu-jitsu this year, that has put me in way better shape than I ever expected it to. It is very much a cardio-based workout. Like, I mean, as much as I'm picking people up off of my body, I'm not lifting more weight than my body weight in any session because that's like, I'm the heaviest one in the class. At the gym, I certainly do lift more weight than my body weight, but it's just that cardio. And also knowing like this year when I went backpacking and I did spend a good, I think almost 8 weeks doing intentional cardio to go and make sure I was supported for my backpacking trip. And my one buddy, Dave, not really a cardio guy. He does 5x5 all the time on everything, squats. Sure, he can go squat 400 or 500 pounds. He's super strong, but if we look at the amount of times that he asked me for a rest in this backpacking trip versus how many times I asked him for a rest in this backpacking trip, I'm like, oh, one of us is doing it right. And one of us is, they can squat 500 pounds, kind of, when they don't have hip bursitis going on and when their bicep isn't hurting them and, things like that.
Dave, if you're listening, he has a lot of positive things to say about you.
So
positive.
I would just implore people to include activities that do have some form of cardiovascular load associated to them. It doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu. You don't have to go put yourself in the middle of the woods for 5 days with 40 pounds on your back and hike 50 miles. But there are things that you can go do. I've even taken up pickleball this year. That gets you moving and get your heart rate pumping. Like all of that stuff, I will absolutely say I'm in better shape, have been like really honing in to include those things in my life along with lifting, whereas I haven't. Even this upcoming phase of workouts for me, which is going to be challenging mentally, it is. I'm trying to only go to the gym twice a week in the morning to lift. Like which is going to be a challenge. But to do and support my body the way that I need to, I'm going to need more rest. I'm going to need not grind myself down as much. And I know that. And the place that I'm willing to give it up is on that side. So I'm actually lifting planning to lift less the next 8 to 12 weeks than I have over the past probably 3 to 4 years. Again, we'll see if I achieve it, but that would be the thing that I hope dies, of like strength or nothing mentality, or lifting or nothing mentality. Like, it's important, but it needs to be a part of a holistic plan to get you healthy and get you where you want to be.
Yeah. And I would like to point out to the audience that Steve's a super smart guy, and it took him about 3 years to understand fitness trade-offs. And here he is now talking to our audience about fitness trade-offs. You can do whatever you want. You just can't do it all at the same time sometimes. And scaffolding and stacking and everything else. And so, I think to that effect, I'm at a unique juncture of my own journey, having dealt with, basically being immobilized for the last 3 months due to some herniated discs that are flared up. And I think at the end of the day, the thing that matters most, because I used to be very much a science-based lifter. Now, I didn't use that as a cop-out, but we do find that people that are excessively smart tend to avoid discomfort. And I think that it's important that we keep the thing at the forefront, which is effort's the most imperative driver of any kind of change. You can be like, oh, I'm going to do a 3x10 at 65%. Well, yeah, 65% feels different at different times. And, cognitive load, like fatigue management, there's a lot of different things that go into that. And you can really overcomplicate it, or you can really just work out hard. And I think that just working out hard is the thing that we'll see come into a lot more public visibility over the science stuff and the evidence-based lifters, which, people are just over-sciencing shit. And it's kind of turned into a negative echo chamber of like, oh, this person's stupid and this is why. And I used to be that guy. And I've become a little more accepting and softened my approach in the last, I'd say, 6 months, as I realized how many people collect data on wearables in an effort to scientifically optimize things that they're not even doing in the first place, much less challenging themselves. So I think for me, the ability to prioritize effort is probably the thing that I think most people should do these days, which means, oddly enough, using data and wearables and different types of psychometric feedback things, using those as a way to build your intuitive base, not necessarily in substitute, which is, I think, a big distinction for me. People would use their Whoop. Oh, it's red today. Oh, that means I can't go train. Like, no, you probably still need to go train. You just maybe need to figure out what that means. What does red mean? Why are you red? And wearables, if used, can definitely be helpful, but it goes back to the effort. Like, you're letting a little robotic device on your wrist dictate psychologically how you're going to perform that day. And if you're in the world of high performance, you can't afford that. You also can't afford to make mistakes, so you have to walk a very weird fine line, but most of us aren't in that domain, which means that given enough time, effort will still trump a lot of the nitpicking that people might use to stop having to put as much effort. And there is no substitute for effort at the end of the day. So cardio, go train cardio. You want to go do dance jam? Some people love that dance cardio shit. Sure, go do that. Make sure you get your heart rate up, make it hard. How are you going to make it hard? Well, I don't know. Maybe put some fucking ankle weights on. I don't know. But it's got to feel hard.
Funny.
That's the thing.
I committed this round to listen to my Whoop more than I have, because I'm that guy who, I'm like, red? There's only one way to get out of red. Push through that shit.
Yeah.
Green? Well, I didn't push hard enough yesterday. Better push through that. Yellow? Kind of almost got myself to red, but not great. And like, that was my mentality. But this go around, because of like, I think I'll be dropping my calories. Like, I'm going hard, like 1,000, 1,300 calorie drop off of my peak of eating calories. So that's going to be a big drop for my body. And then layer jiu-jitsu in there twice a week and things like that. Like, I know I'm going to be crushing myself. So I was like, all right, I'm actively not going to work out the days after jiu-jitsu. I'm not going to you'll be proud of me. I'm not going to do a strength workout and a jiu-jitsu workout in the same day, which
I just said you got to train hard. So I don't know why you're stopping.
Has become a thing. So my hard training is coming from malnourishment, we'll say.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But I'm like, all right, if I wake up on a day that I'm supposed to go and lift and I'm red, I have a plan B workout already built
Hmm.
for those days. I'm still going to go and move, but I'm going to move. I'm not going to necessarily go and work out. I actually am like, I'm going to focus on that and make sure I don't drive myself too hard into the ground,
Hmm.
which is the first time in 4 years that I'm actually going to actually listen to this thing on my wrist.
Yeah, and I think it's important to call out that, and again, I mentioned this briefly, building your intuitive base of like, what does that mean? Are you moving in the right direction? That requires some regular sampling. But as I'm going through, and yes, I am doing another certification for everyone that's wondering, oh, what's Andrew learning these days? Well, so the NSCA has a performance scientist certification that I actually kind of find enlightening. And I think it's important. And again, the more the margins matter, the more team you probably need. The athlete needs to focus on showing up and performing, which means they need less noise. Because if they have too many things to focus on, now what'll happen is that they'll get in their head and maybe they'll like feel something weird in the middle of the performance. And then they'll start to spin out. We see this with negative momentum all the time. You see a team that's kind of, playing 50-50 and like it's a back and forth game, and then halftime, and then someone comes out and just blows them out the second half. Like there's a lot of things that happen in the locker room, but point being is that there might have been some kind of mental construct or artifact that got proposed of like, oh man, I knew that pinky toe that I jammed 4 weeks ago, not relevant, would start acting up, and they kind of like, step on it funny, and it just starts to get in their head, and they're like, oh, my foot's injured. And now they're going to start guarding it, which is going to start to decrease their performance. And so rather than having the athlete have extra information from a wearable, I think that it's still imperative. And this is where coaches or a data scientist or someone in the background can look at their data over time, assess the trends, and identify the meaningful variables. I don't think that's the athlete's job at this point, which is why when it comes down to AI or coaches, like having a well-informed coach or program design kind of methodology that accounts for the data and uses it from a trend visualization, or like, this is how things are going in general. You might have an up day or a down day. I think giving that information direct to the athlete day of that it happens is a terrible idea. I think looking at it week over week as a summative value, that becomes something that becomes inherently more valuable from a program refinement, because you can start to tell if people are overreaching. Are they getting too fatigued? And now they're going to actually start to have maladaptation. Are they actually in the sweet spot, right in that pocket where everyone's going to be a little bit different, which is why team training templates are actually usually completely trash. They're the most economical given the constraints of the environment. But, so those are just all the things that are going around in the background of my head of like, I don't want my athletes to ever look at them, which is why I still have people wear whoops, because then I can look at it week over week, trend over trend. And most people are like, I tell people, don't worry about the app. Don't look at it. Just upload it every once in a while and, kind of go from there. And that seems to be a pretty positive thing versus having people check, are you red today? If you're red today, do this. And that just gets weird for the people that I've coached here recently.
Makes sense. All right. Well, question for you guys listening. What's the one trend you hope goes away, I would say? Or what thing are you no longer going to subscribe to? Because we know we've all done some stupid shit. So,
yeah. My question is, how do you feel about the podcast and the ratings? If you could just go ahead and rate that, we would greatly appreciate it, because we're trying to stack up some ratings. We're trying to have 365 ratings in 365 days. So help us out with that. We would really appreciate it.
All right, gang. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Pump, where we break down the business of fitness and nutrition. Subscribe to this if you found it useful. Like the episode and throw a comment down there on things you want us to break down. Until next time, gang. Happy New Year. Hey.